The fire that swallowed my home. I still remember the smell, the thick, bitter smoke that clung to my throat as I stood barefoot in the cold night, watching my house, my memories, turn to ash. That little home had seen everything. My husband's laughter, my son's first steps, my tears when I lost him to marriage and distance. That night, the flames danced like devils, and I just stood there trembling, clutching my old shawl. People from the neighborhood came running. Someone shouted, "Call the fire brigade." Another brought a bucket of water as if it could save a lifetime of love. But in 10 minutes everything was gone. My husband's photograph, my wedding sari, the letters my son wrote me when he was in college, all gone. I sank to my knees on the gravel, the glow of fire reflecting in my tears. My world had just burned down, and I had nowhere to go. Part 2. The Lonely Walk, 3:10. By dawn the fire was out, the walls were black skeletons, the air still heavy with ash. A young police officer came to me gently. "Ma'am, do you have anywhere to stay?" I looked at him. His face reminded me of my son, Arif. "Yes, I'll go to my son's place," I whispered, though my voice broke halfway. He offered me a ride, but I refused. I wanted the walk. I needed time to understand what had just happened. The road to Arif's house was long. My legs shook, but my mind was heavier than my steps. Every rustle of leaves, every bark of a stray dog felt louder than usual. Maybe because silence had become unbearable. I thought about how when Arif was little, I'd walk this same road with his lunchbox, just to make sure he ate something warm. Now, decades later, I was walking the same path, but this time, I wasn't bringing food. I was bringing my broken self. The door that didn't open right away. It was around 9 a.m. when I reached Arif's home, a neat, modern house in the city's new block. I hesitated before pressing the bell. When I finally did, it wasn't Arif who answered. It was his wife, Samina. Her eyes widened slightly when she saw me, soot-streaked and trembling. "Ami?" she said, her tone flat, as if she wasn't sure she wanted to believe it was me. "Yes, Beta," I said softly. "There was a fire, the house, it's gone." She froze. Behind her I could hear the TV playing and someone, my son, laughing at something on it. "I'll call Arif," she said curtly and walked away. I stood at the door like a stranger. I could feel the neighbors peeking from their windows. My heart pounded. When Arif came, his face changed from surprise to discomfort. "Ami, what happened?" I told him everything, my voice trembling. He sighed, rubbed his forehead, and said, "That's terrible, but where will you stay now?" I stared at him in disbelief. "Here with you, Beta, just until I figure something out." Samina stepped closer. "But Arif, you know my mother is visiting next week. We don't have space." The unwelcome guest. They let me stay, but only in the small storeroom behind the kitchen. No window, just boxes, old clothes, and a thin mattress they placed on the floor. "It's temporary, Ami," Arif said. "We'll sort something out soon." I smiled faintly. "Of course, Beta, I don't need much." But that night when I lay there in the dark, I realized I wasn't in my son's home. I was in a place that tolerated me out of obligation. I heard laughter from the living room. Arif, Samina, and their daughter eating dinner. No one called me. My stomach growled, but I told myself, he must have forgotten. Tomorrow will be better. But tomorrow wasn't better. Samina frowned whenever I entered the kitchen. "Ami, please don't move things around. I have my system." Her daughter, my granddaughter, barely spoke to me. Maybe she sensed her mother's irritation. And Arif, my son, always looked busy. The dinner table silence. One evening I gathered courage. As they sat at the dining table, I said gently, "Can I join you for dinner tonight?" Samina's spoon clattered. She glanced at Arif. He hesitated. "Of course, Ami, come." I smiled and sat down. The smell of chicken curry filled the air, my husband's favorite dish. I took a small bite. For a moment it felt like family again. Then Samina said, "Ami, please don't drop curry on the tablecloth, it's new." My hand froze midair. I looked down, ashamed, though I hadn't spilled a thing. Arif stayed silent. That silence cut deeper than fire ever could. After that, I stopped joining them for meals. I ate in the storeroom, quietly like a ghost. The call that changed everything. A week later, Arif came into the storeroom. "Ami," he said, "I found a small old-age home nearby. It's clean and the staff seems nice. Maybe you'll be more comfortable there." For a second I thought I misheard. "An old-age home?" I repeated. He nodded quickly. "Just until you get back on your feet." My heart sank. "Arif, I'm your mother. I changed your diapers, I stayed awake every night when you had fever, and now you're sending me to strangers? He looked away. It's not like that, Ami. Samina she feels it's hard managing the house right now. I couldn't speak, tears rolled down my wrinkled cheeks. That night I sat awake, staring at the small crack in the storeroom wall. I whispered to my husband's photo, "You were right. Love fades when comfort grows." The day I left. When the taxi came to take me, Samina didn't come out. Arif hugged me, briefly. His daughter stood behind him, holding a tablet, barely glancing up. "Call me if you need anything," he said, opening the taxi door. I nodded. My throat burned, but I couldn't cry in front of him. As the car moved away, I looked back at the house, the one I thought would be my safe haven. But instead of shelter, I found rejection. I thought of the fire that took my home and realized a colder fire had taken my family. The old age home. The home was a small building with fading paint, tucked between a hospital and a school. Inside, elderly faces looked up as I entered, eyes that had seen the same betrayal. They smiled faintly, the kind of smile that says, "I understand your pain." The staff were kind, but their kindness couldn't fill the void my son had left. Days passed. I sat by the window knitting quietly. Sometimes I'd hear children laughing from the school nearby. I'd close my eyes and imagine Arif as a boy again, running home to show me his report card. Then I'd open my eyes to reality, and the silence would hit me like winter. The visit that never came. Arif promised to visit every weekend. The first weekend came, he didn't the second. A text message, "Sorry Ami, busy, next time." Weeks turned into months. My hair grew thinner, my back weaker. One day another resident, a gentle man named Yusuf, said, "Sometimes children forget not out of hate, but out of convenience." I smiled sadly. "That's worse, Yusuf Sahib. At least hate remembers you." On Eid I waited the whole day in my best shawl, clutching a small gift I'd saved. A watch for Arif, the same brand his father used to wear, but he didn't come. That night I placed the watch on my bedside table and whispered, "Maybe next Eid." The last letter. Months later my health began to fade. The nurse told me gently, "You should rest more, Amma." I smiled weakly. "I've been resting all my life, Beta, resting from people's absence." I decided to write Arif a letter, not of anger but of love. Letter. My dearest son. I don't blame you for what you did. Maybe you didn't know how much it hurt. Maybe you thought I'd understand. But I wish you had remembered the nights I held you when you cried, the meals I skipped so you could eat, the prayers I whispered for you when I thought God had stopped listening. Your house may have been full of light, but it had no warmth for me. Still, I forgive you. Because a mother's love doesn't burn out like a house, it only turns to ashes that still glow. If you ever visit and find my room empty, don't cry, just know I finally went home, to a place where I am wanted again. Your Ami. Narration fades with soft piano music. Days later the staff found me peacefully asleep, the letter folded on my chest, a faint smile on my lips. When Arif came to collect my things, the nurse handed him the letter. He read it silently, and for the first time in years he cried like a child. Outside it began to rain, soft cleansing rain. The world was mourning with him. He whispered, "I'm sorry, Ami." But it was too late. Fade out. Grandma's unfiltered tears, because some stories are meant to heal the heart through pain.